Okay, today, finding balance in life. In your own search for balance, you may have come across the Yin-Yang symbol. I think it's known for being a great illustration of duality. It's got opposite but equally balanced sides in this interconnected dance. I think it really captures the black and white nature of a measuring mind. And it's an ideal symbol to represent a singular process that involves a measured duality. Whether we recognize it or not, each of us are living this duality because we measure. So you can look at this image and see opposing forces, or you can see them as complementary. I might give this symbol meaning, or you just see black and white shapes. And the fact that we disagree on the interpretation is exactly the point. There's always going to be this nature of two here, good, evil, here, there, now, then, this, that. Measurement is always going to require two. And if you've been practicing meditation, you might be looking to get away from measurement. You may say it's good to be here and now and to accept this moment as it is. But where is the dark to contrast all that light? If we select a side in an effort to know the singular, we've unknowingly become the contradiction. We've lost sight of the overall symbolism of balance. So perhaps this yin-yang symbol does not represent a singular answer. Maybe it simply presents the contrast for observation. Now, if recognizing duality is the point, maybe we can find dual meaning in the symbol itself. This symbol can represent the perfect balance of life. It can also present an ideal way to live it. It's the balanced mind within the singular reality. And what we call our mind is this process of measuring, and that process is said to be in balance when we can accept that we measure duality. And this is really, really important. We can't accept duality itself. We can only accept the measurement of duality. This is a fact that I think we overlook. There's no good without bad, but that concept is beyond logic. We have no choice in that matter. We measure ourselves as having choice. We even believe it's possible to obtain freedom from measurement, but that idea is a favoring of a preferred side of this equal balance. It's egotistical. The fact is we come pre-wired. We're all chemically predisposed to chase the dopamine highs, and maybe even use those as a motivation to seek freedom from suffering. But we're also cultivating enough serotonin through a meditation practice to recognize contentment. So on every level of our being, we can observe this complementary but competing aspects. And our individual challenge is just to observe this. That's the middle way. And I think the best way to find this balance is with balance. You don't want to have blind faith, and you don't want to require irrefutable proof before you believe. It's a balanced approach. That's the middle way, and it resists taking one side or the other. And through this, we have less resistance, and the measurement just kind of happens. We allow our shadows to share the same space as our light. So the middle way is not freedom from measurement, it's acceptance of measurement. It begs the question, what are we measuring? Well, it's hard to define. The singular origin, I guess, the non-dual. It's by definition an immeasurable namelessness that cannot be called this or that. But of course, that doesn't stop any of us from trying. We have the spiritual people that call it energy, the religious that call it God, the hippies call it love, and the Jedis call it the Force. But all names are going to fall short because at the root of all these labels is the unnameable singularity that includes everything, including duality itself. So sadly, there's no logic here. It's just a felt experience. When I ask you, how do you feel? You're measuring the singularity. And just as it's impossible to label the singular, it's just as futile to try to label how we measure the same. You have this happiness and sadness and fear, disgust. They're all just marks on a subjectively created ruler that we hold up against the infinite. So if I say I'm happy, I'm just measuring myself as having a lot of the source. And if I'm sad, I have little. If I'm afraid, I have some, but I'm losing it. And if I'm hopeful, well, I also have some, but I don't have as much as I want, but I'm feeling like I'm gaining it. The point I want to make here is that the scale, any scale, is only capable of measuring a singular source. And in this case, we are the scale. Our mind is the process of measuring, and what we measure is that infinite source. Call it God or whatever label you wish. The act of measurement is what divides and creates the contrast. and that's what we know as suffering. Now, knowing this does not solve any problems, doesn't benefit us in any way. That's just more measurement. Our obsession with measurement will always interfere with seeing the balance of the whole. So measurement must give way to observation. How do we do that? How do we observe the mind process? Well, let's take a balanced and dual approach. We want to have faith in some sort of external logic. And then we're going to balance that faith with an internal exploration of feeling. So of course we must start somewhere. So we collect information through books or teachings or talks like this. But then we have to balance that collection with the application of the method. And that's the practice. One or the other alone is not a balanced approach. And I think far too many of us become focused on collection and we fail to apply what we're learning. So collection becomes the exercise and enoughness is the goal, but that is not balance. So I'm going to provide you with this really quick method, and I hope you'll apply it through your own practice. So take a moment, set yourself up, and take a few breaths, settle down, and we're going to set an intention here. We're going to focus on feeling. And feeling is the physical manifestation of a measuring mind that's interpreting the source. And this is what we're going to observe. So this infinite source or God, energy, force, whatever you wish to call it, it's within each of us. And we know this because we can each feel it right now. If I ask you, how do you feel? The fact that you feel proves this. Now, the fact that you feel good or bad demonstrates that measurement is happening. Mind process subjectively measures the infinite, and the result of that measurement is what we know as experience. And if you're seeking balance in your experience of life, the first thing you must do is realize where feeling is being felt. Theory alone will do nothing here. So this is the application, this practice. You explore and you find this place of experience within your physical being. And it takes a bit to find it, but just ask yourself, how do I know that I feel, either good or bad? If you've practiced meditation in the past, you may be familiar with breath. You can follow the sensation of your breath through your physical being. I think for many people, feeling is felt in the chest or the abdomen. That rise and fall of the breath is the same location. As you search, you'll find where you feel. You want to focus your attention on the feeling itself. Observe that feeling can only be felt. Avoid any mental images and labels. Mind stuff is not feeling. This is a skill. This is a practiced application that develops. If you notice your attention focusing on a mental image, return back to feeling. If you question or label what you are feeling, return to observation alone. Through this practice of observation, you begin to distinguish the two, mind and feeling, noticing the interconnected dance and this perfect contrast that exists. There's no real understanding here. It's a paradox, as you'll measure yourself as having observed the infinite. But once you see that measurement is me, you can allow that me to measure without losing your balance. We become both the conflict and the harmony.